All right, this is going to be a run through of the production and some edits that we can make for this cover song. We did Imagine by John Lennon. It's a pretty cool one. I'm going to be doing this quite informally. I'm not going to be going back and, you know, fixing the mistakes of this recording because I don't have time for that. So let's see what we have here. We have drums, we have guitars, we have bass, we have vocals, some vocal stacks over here. It's going to be very fun. What we first did is we did a little bit of pre-production by programming some drums, recording some scratch guitars, and then having a drummer come in and do the drum recordings. I quantized those recordings before we did anything to our guitars, bass, or vocals. That way, anytime we're overdubbing on top of there, you're not going to have the timing be off and then, have an out of time bass when we could have fixed the, drums in the first place, and then the bass player would have a nice, you know, idea of what the timing is for the song or the appropriate timing for the song. So I went ahead and undid that, and we're just going to do the drums right now. So I have right now a group for all the drums. So that's nice. Let's go ahead and make this bigger so we can see all these. The first thing I'm going to do, I turn my group off with Command Shift G, and that inactivates or activates all groups. So you don't have to keep on clicking over here to, undo one or the other. It's very, very nice because of that. So I'm going to keep them all on for now. Well, almost all of them. I think I turned them all off on accident. All right. Cool. So it's nice and fast. See how fast that is? All right. So first thing we do is we do our comp or compile, right? So let's look at our playlist that we have. We have our very first take. We have the second take, third take, and fourth take. I like to go by, this one would be kick.00 or 00, I mean, but it doesn't display that, because then take number 2 would be kick.01, kick.02. So I like to go by these numbers right here. And then kick 04, or I'm sorry, playlist 04, 05, 06. Those are all the playlists I used for the original comp and the original quantize of the drums, but I can't delete those necessarily as far as I understand. So they're just empty for now. So normally I would make new playlists, but I already have them there, so I'm just going to keep them. So take 03 was the one that we really liked, and my notes show that we need to put verse 2 from take .02 into .03. So I'm going to go ahead and just use, how about we'll use playlist .04 for our comp. So I'm going to highlight all the drums, Command C, put them on number 4, paste it. There we are. So then I'll make a note here, .04 is the comp. Cool. Now I need to put .02 right during this section. And look, I already have the selection right there. I can keep my selection there, move to that playlist, Command C, and move back to the other playlist, Command V to paste it. Now I just have to check the beginnings and the ends. I'll just use this to trim it back out. So that sounded good. Let's check this one out. That sounded funny. Let's keep the fill pretty clean by using the same fill for that take instead of, splitting the difference like that. We'll keep it that way. Very nice. Okay, cool. So that's feeling good. Now, normally when I'm doing this, depending on the drummer, it might be every like 5 seconds I'm doing a comp or, putting in a different drum take. But this drummer did a very good job, and also he made it clear that he liked keeping it all in one take. But we definitely liked this performance more for the verse. So we're gonna go ahead and comp that in, which we just did. All right, so now that we have that, we're gonna start our quantize. Again, I've already quantized this, but we're redoing it. You're supposed to be quantizing before you overdub on top of the guitar of the drums, so that all your other instruments are going to be in time or in the appropriate time. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn all my groups off. Command Shift G. Now I'm gonna put my snare track right next to my kick track, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be quantizing all these drum tracks, all the drum tracks based off of the kick and the snare. If we were to quantize based off of kick, snare, hi-hat, and toms or something like that, it would just be so intense intensely quantized, it'll feel very robotic, and we do not want that for this song. So we're going to just do it according to kick and snare. And we're going to do it section by section. So I'm going to put my group on. We'll find a nice break. How about right there? I'll break it right there. Turn my group off now. Now I'm going to use Beat Detective, which is Command 8 on the numpad, or it's under Event Beat Detective right there. Highlight my kick, highlight my snare, and let's just take a quick look at what we have. See, look, his kick is a little bit early, a little bit early, a little bit early, but so is his. The snare's a little bit early, snare's a little bit early. Pretty much everything is ever so slightly early, so we're in really good shape. What's a real big bummer to deal with is when you have a performance that's early and then the next hit is late, then it compounds the distance between the two performances, and then it really feels off and it's harder to quantize. But he did a very good job, so we're not going to have to worry about that. Let's see what the sensitivity or what kind of notes this contains. So I'm looking through this. Let's keep this on eighth notes for now. On eighth notes, it's looking pretty good. Yep, that's an eighth note, eighth note, eighth note. Oh, what's that right there? Yeah, so that's looking pretty good right there, except for this kick is not on an eighth note. See how it's in between the beats? So it must be on a 16th note. There we go. Yep, so this contains 16th notes. We have to do the same thing over here for Beat Detective. Make sure it contains 16th notes. If we wanted to include the triplets, we could. Now I double click my kick, hold shift, double click my snare, and now I'm going to capture, I'm sorry, I got to be on clip separation right here. And then I need to capture that selection. Now it's been captured. It's noting the start of the beat, the end of the beat, so making sure that it matches with what you have up there is usually pretty important, but we're going to be okay here. This is okay. All right, so I clicked them, I captured my selection, now I analyze it. Now the sensitivity right here, you always have to analyze, right? Otherwise this part doesn't work. The sensitivity is how much it's going to be noting those transients. And those are really hard transients, so it's very easy for Pro Tools to figure those out. So the more I turn the sensitivity up, the more it starts to find out where the beats are. Now right there at the 10% sensitivity, notice it's not getting that kick right there, so we do need to include that in there. There we go. Now let's scroll through this and make sure we have it all. There's nothing missing. And notice how it's quantizing. Oh shoot, I clicked out and that was a bad idea. I might have to redo my capture selection and analyzing it just in case. But notice how when I did that, the kick, the snare right here is putting that blue or that purple line on the kick track as well. So it's going to be making a cut on all the tracks selected based off of the snare right here. So even though it's not noticing there's anything on the kick track, it's going to be still putting a little separation right there purely because that's where the snare is. And so I don't think I'm missing anything else. That's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to increase this a little bit and see if it does anything nasty. No, it's okay. It starts getting nasty when you go too much like that, and then it's quantizing or it's analyzing things that aren't actually beats. So it's probably right over here in the 33%. It's pretty darn good. All right, so now that those are noted, I'm going to turn my group on. So now I hold shift and click. So now it's doing all the drums, and it's going to be populating all of those little markers or beat markers based on my selection. Now the trigger pad over here is when it chops, when it makes a cut in Pro Tools. If I have a trigger pad of 0, it'll make the cut right where the purple line is, which means if we crossfade, it's going to crossfade into the like snare or kick hit, and it's going to be very odd feeling. It'll be really soft, and it'll kind of kill that transient. So with a 5 millisecond trigger pad, what that's going to do is it's going to make the cut be, or separation be, 5 milliseconds to the left of the beat so that we can crossfade appropriately. All right, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to go ahead and hit separate. Oh, you know what? Before we do that, notice what playlist we're on. We're on playlist 04, and 04 is our comp. So I'm actually going to take everything, copy that onto a new playlist, paste it, and we'll call this one So 0.05 will be the quantize. So I can always go back to the comp without the quantize if I need to. All right, so now I have to reanalyze everything, but it should be, it's pretty much, it saves all your settings, so it's pretty good, but just in case, let's go ahead and capture that selection, reanalyze it. Nothing changed, so we were good. Command Shift G to get all my groups. Now it's applying this to all my drums. If I reanalyze this, it's going to reanalyze all this. We do not want that. All right, so now I go ahead and hit separate. Notice what it did. It put little separations. There's where the beat was. Kind of a little off there, whatever. And it put the separation 5 milliseconds to the left, so we keep that crossfade. That's nice. Okay, let's see these other ones. Yeah, see, very cool. Now that we have that done, we're going to hit Command 0 on our keyboard. That is quantizing the audio files based on our grid. So make sure that your grid is appropriate. It's on 16th notes right now. So when I hit Command 0, yeah, that looks good. But watch what happens if I put it on like quarter notes. That is not good. It's quantizing not at its sensitivity it should be. So we're going to stick with the 8th notes. I'm sorry, 16th notes. All right. Now notice all these little tiny gaps in there. We're going to go ahead and fill those. And also notice how I'm keeping my selection. I'm not clicking out anywhere. Now I'm going to click on Edit Smoothing, and I'm just going to click Fill Gaps. I could also fill in Crossfade, but I don't want to crossfade until the very end. Hit Smooth. Now I can look at it. Yeah, that's looking nice. Now let's go ahead and double check this according to the click. So let's make sure that our click is on. Make sure we even have a click track. Cool. Let's hear it. Cool. Sounds great. Now you might hear little pops and clicks in there. That's because there's no crossfades. So we're going to fix that at the end. All right. I'm liking how that sounds. So now we just move on to the rest. I don't want to quantize this drum fill because I kind of like it being slightly slightly behind on it. Makes it feel a little bit more realistic or human, which it is human, but we want to make sure that it stays that way. Cool. So now I'll put a break right here. And let's just do the whole verse. So we'll come back over here, put a nice break right there. Turn my group off, clip separation, double click my snare, double click, have my kick, capture that selection, analyze it. It's probably going to be the same. I probably don't need to mess with the sensitivity too much. So let's just go ahead and double check it. Everything's in there. I'm looking to make sure that like this kick has a purple, marker, or that snare. Now that it's not getting that little snare right there, and that's okay with me because I don't want to necessarily quantize like crazy his little snare rolls. That's looking pretty good. All right, Command Shift G, grab everything. Now I'm going to go ahead and separate. Excellent. Command 0, edit smoothing, fill gaps. Now I'd have to listen to it again. Be sure not to skip this step because it's really tempting just to quantize, fill those gaps, and then move on. No, you want to make sure you listen if there's anything nasty happening. All right, so there's a weird little snare roll error or issue right here, kind of right before bar 17. So we're gonna leave that, but we're gonna fix it afterward. All right, so clip separation. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at that little area right here. I don't want to quantize this beat right here. So all I'm gonna do is go to my trim tool, and I'm gonna trim it out from this side. Right before it, like right there. Yeah, see, that's a little bit more natural. Yeah, so you can just drag with the clip tool to get rid of edits you don't like. Just go over. I mean, I can get rid of all those if I just go like that. All right, so that was good right there. All right, now we get to the pre-chorus. Command Shift G, double click, capture that selection, analyze it. What is going on here? Okay, see how it's picking up those? So we actually need to get rid of that. So double click. Oops, sorry. So I don't want it to quantize those little guys. There we go. Making sure that I have no other issues here. Yep, still good. I don't want to quantize the toms based off of the tom bleed into the kick microphone. That would be silly. All right, now we're good to go. Now I can go ahead and hit separate, Command 0, edit smoothing, fill gaps, and take a listen. Ooh, we should probably fix that though. Drag this guy out. Ooh, let's do it from this end. Yeah. Oh, I don't like that. All right, moving right along. I'm just going to do the rest of it real fast. Whoa, okay. That was funny. I'm just going to go ahead and drag it out from there. I wonder if I did it from this side. Why is that off? Look at that. You see how that kick is off right here? I don't really know why. That is kind of funny. So let's manually go. Let's just go ahead and manually do this. So I have my group on. I'm going to click right here and hit Tab to transient. There we are. Let's go ahead and move that on beat now. Fill all these gaps if necessary. There we go. So sometimes you have to manually do it. Same issue. All right, moving on. I'm going to do the chorus and this pre-chorus all at the same time. Double click, clip separation, capture selection, analyze it. Feel nice and good about what we've analyzed. Yeah, look, it didn't capture that. I like that. That's good. Didn't get those. That's nice. Got those, but that's okay. We'll fix those. Command Shift G, select everything, separate. Command 0 to quantize, edit smoothing, fill gaps. The reason we're not doing fill and crossfade is because it's a lot harder to edit with those crossfades in there. Hear that? See how there's a little blip right there? It's because the snare was that early. So we're going to have to move that way over. Okay, That'll be better. Little tiny weird little hiccups here, but we can just go ahead and move those. So I'm just making sure that when we crossfade, we're not going to, do something like this, where it really screws up the transient. All right, moving right along. I'm getting brave. I'm going to do the pre-chorus and the verse together. Cool. Heard something at the beginning I didn't like. I was kind of, it got 2 clips in there. That's okay. I'll get rid of it. Let's just get brave, do the rest of it. Capture my selection, analyze it, triple check it. Yeah, that's good. There's a couple little things I'm not thrilled about with it, but it's okay, because if I hear it and it sounds nasty, I'll fix it. That felt funny right there for some reason. Let's check it out. So for some reason, it put the kicks not exactly on beat. None of these actually. Oh, did I forget to quantize? Probably. So reseparate. I perhaps forgot to quantize. That's silly. Oh, I hit the button. It just probably didn't do it. All right. Now command. There we go. Okay, now we can edit or fill those gaps. That's the funny thing. All right. Yeah, so always double check it. Remember, I want those drum fills pretty not quantized. Nice, it didn't quantize those. That's good. Funny there. I have to keep some of that. Okay. Very nice. Now, if I heard it like our drummer hit a microphone, like on the snare, for example, I could just steal, a quick little hit from the samples I took, right? And then I could copy and paste it in that one little moment. It's a little forgivable, but it works. All right. So now, looking, that's a little crazy to look at. Now, Pro Tools does not like having a mass amount of cuts like that. It's a little tolling on the system. So we do want to rectify that as soon as possible because it has to process each individual little edit. So now I'm going to take all of that. I would have duplicated the playlist, but I already had one made. So I copied it, moved to the next playlist, paste it, and so now that means that .06 is going to be the crossfades. So now I select everything, and now when I go, instead of fill gaps, I'm going to go fill in crossfade. Now it's already been filled, but the crossfade hasn't occurred. Now we have a 5 millisecond trigger. I'm sorry, 5 millisecond trigger pad. So now when we go to edit smoothing and we want our crossfades to automatically go in, we can just do that 3 milliseconds, anything below 5, and it won't go over it. So now I just did it, and let's look what it looks like. Oh, why didn't you happen? I wonder what happened there. All right, let's undo. Okay. Highlight everything. Fill and crossfade. Smooth it. I wonder why these ones aren't. It's not doing it to these ones. Let's try it really specifically to these. I wonder why it's not doing those ones. That seems silly. That's okay. We'll just do it manually. Ah, the selection must not contain crossfades. That's the bummer about working with it. If you've already put crossfades in, some functions don't work if there's crossfades already. So I could just go edit, fades, delete, but let's find our culprit. So it starts with snare bottom. Okay, so snare bottom and below needs to be crossfaded. You can see how sluggish the computer's getting right now, actually, as I'm zooming in and out because of all these fades. I'm sorry, all these cuts. Oh, that's why it didn't do all these fades on the bottom because somewhere in here there's a crossfade. So I'll just go ahead and go fades, delete. Now I can do it. Nope. So now there's a culprit somewhere around here too. So let's go ahead and actually just do it all over again. We're going to delete all the fades and then try it again. There, it did it. So the issue we had is somewhere on these drum recordings there was a crossfade and it wasn't that was screwing up everything. So I got a little ahead of myself, but I should have realized that we've been working on this for a while, so there might be a crossfade might have snuck in there somewhere. So I should have just highlighted everything, fades, delete, and then started from scratch. But now we're good. Let's just triple check. Look at all those fades right before the crossfade, right? Now, I should re-listen to this whole thing, but for time's sake, I'm breaking my own rule and I'm not going to do that. I'll hear it as we go. I can always fix it as we go too. So now I've got it all. I'm going to move it to, I'm going to actually go ahead and duplicate that playlist. So that's Command Control \, and oh, I only did it to that one. That's because my group's not on. There we are. Now I did it to all of them. And on this one, I am going to commit them now. Edit, or sorry, consolidate them. This is where we drink our coffee. Now, if I want to fix anything, I'm like, oh man, there's a weird little issue there. No worries. I can just go back to this one. Command C, Command V, and then I can fix it from there. So I don't need to do that, but we're fine for now. Let's go ahead and make sure we note this as well. I'm holding Shift and Enter right when I did that so that it can give me a paragraph break. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to that bass track. Where's that bass? Here's the bass. I'm going to do this real quick and dirty to see how well it works. Go ahead and heal the... All right, so first we get our comp, but we kind of comp this as we went, so let's just make sure that everything else looks good with our recording. Maybe turn its volume up so you could hear it. Ooh, clearly drag that out. Nice. Cool. Let's check out these edits over here. I like doing it on like the down. Oh, see, can't do that there. Actually, it's kind of nice with that gap. Let's leave it. Just checking all the ins and out points. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm starting to notice where we are on the grid, what sensitivity we should be quantizing at. All right. So for the most part, see, we got hit, hit, hit. Yeah, so we're on the appropriate grid. Let's just do it section by section. Highlight our area. Are we doing 16th notes? Yeah, I guess we are. All right, capture the selection, analyze it. See, it's not getting that one right there. I wonder if we could. We're not gonna be able to get that one because it'll get. See how it's including quantize our markers right here during this little fade out. That's where we're not in good shape. So I'm gonna make sure I get it right up until there. All right. So that's as sensitive as I can get with it. All right. So then I'm going to now we already captured the selection. We analyze it, and then we separate it. Now I quantize it. Command 0, edit smoothing, fill gaps. And you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to undo that. Probably better to duplicate this playlist. What the heck? Oh yeah, that's all that stuff. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to go ahead and call this one comp. Cool. So what was that? .05 was good take, and then base comp is comp, and then yeah, we can always go back to the good take at the base, so we could just leave it at the comp. All right. And then check our work. So let's go see how we can add some samples to this pretty easily. So we have our kick right here. Let's just do our kick, and you can use this for the snare as well, or even toms. Of course, with the samples, you kind of want to make sure that you're matching at least something in regards to timing or pitch. And I'm sorry, not timing, more like the decay time or the release time of your kick. We kind of want to match that so it's just not so obscenely different from our original recordings. It's also my personal opinion that if you're using samples, you're doing it with a purpose. And each time that I use samples in a mix, I'm kind of always making note of how could I have achieved this sound in the actual recording as opposed to requiring samples later on. So, I mean, you kind of slowly get to the point to where you're adding different microphones, using different microphones, using EQs differently, compression, etc., to get the tone that you want right off the bat. And I would much prefer that, but samples are sometimes necessary. Well, in my opinion. All right, so let's go ahead and hear our drums real quick. So in that kick, I'm not super thrilled with. It's got like a mid range that's filling in a space, but I'm not super thrilled with the low end or the clickiness of it. So we're gonna go ahead and use a sample for that. So what I'm gonna do is, well, somebody sent us these. I have these Bob Clear Mountain drums right here, and if you look at them, it's a Sound Designer 2 file. So you can't actually hear that. So what we can do to audition those is instead in Pro Tools, go File, Import Audio, and then you can kind of choose which one you want. You click it, and then you hit play. This might get a little loud, so yeah. All right, it's kind of got that basketball-y tone I like in there. Let's go ahead and convert it, and then open it up. Now, notice what it did. It gave us a stereo file. We can fix that. Let's just make sure that, yep, the left and right are essentially the same. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on this. I'm going to say split into mono, splits it into mono. I'm going to take these ones and I'm going to delete them. Then we'll go ahead, yep, and we'll rename this kick sample. Throw that at the very top because what we need to do is we need to make sure that our kick sample or whatever we're doing as a sample, we put on the top track, and whatever we're trying to use as our guide would be the bottom track. So I'm just going to move that right there. We're just going to quickly analyze this. You can kind of see that, well, definitely has a little bit more release in there. It's not quite matching. So I wonder what happens if we kind of just cut it right there, do a nice little fade, kind of do a, yeah, like that, match it. All right, cool. Probably put that on the left or put it in the center and turn it down. Oh, that sounded natural. Let's double check it. Yeah, actually, I want more release on there. Maybe a lot more, actually. Okay, yeah, fine with that. We can use something to soften that up later if we want to. All right, so I take what I want, copy it. Now what I do is I make a group for both these. Excellent, so now it's on. Now all I have to do is I have the sample on my, whatever it's called whenever you have it copied. I hit tab to transient, make sure you have tab to transient on, and it's tabbing exactly to our kick right here, or our guide track, because it's grouped together. And then I hit Command V, since it's a mono file, it's going to be pasting on the top track, but not the bottom track. And then I can just click here, tab V, click tab V, click tab V, click tab V. Oh, that one didn't work. Look what I did on accident. I tabbed a weird little transient there. So sometimes you can't move too fast. Oh, that's nasty. I don't like that. See how it changed the fade? We should fix that. So let's Commit it. There you go. And notice this one right here. This one is a little quieter than this one, so if we really want to, we could just turn that down just a little bit, give it some dynamics. Yeah, I'm into it. All right.